They are just weirdos. And they're very talented weirdos. There's a lot of stuff that's weird in their videos and in the, and in the song content. And I think it's very exciting. We like weirdos. Yeah, and weirdos as pop, like, yay!
Yes,
we do.
I know.
The pop was going to get so weird again.
Hey, little piss babies. Welcome back to Renegades of the podcast. I am Remy.
And
Juliet. We are Unheard, Sirens Incorporated. Thank you once again for joining us. We just did a segment talking all about Hell of a Boss, independent animation sensation on YouTube that we adore. And now we're going to go into another segment here on this episode of Renegades of the podcast of Pop Portal. This is where we review artists. Hyperpop Portal. This is where we review artists that we, in the pop world, mostly pop world and alternative pop and all that, they're basically newer artists that we've heard of, but we've never heard any of their music. We delve into it for the very first time. We get a little sampling of it, and we give you our honest thoughts on what we think of this artist, because we mostly grew up with, alternative music and, worlds outside of the quote-unquote mainstream. And so we created the segment to delve into artists that are newer, that we haven't heard before, and delve into it and give you our honest thoughts. And so far on this segment for the last few months, we've been doing Hyperpop Portal, where we picked 3 different artists in the hyperpop genre that we wanted to potentially review, and it was a 3-way tie when I did a poll for all 3 of them, and so we decided to do all 3. And so this is rounding out Hyperpop Portal, number 3 of the artists we've done in this genre. We've done Sophie and we've done Charlie XCX, and now we're rounding it out with one of the bigger names, maybe the biggest name as far as like the sound of hyperpop, and that is 100 Gecs. Based out of the St. Louis, Missouri area. I believe it's Dylan Brady and Laura Less are the duo that form this group. Yeah, so 100 Gecs, kind of known as like for a lot of like the music nerds, as far as like the more adventurous and the really kind of, I guess, the pure kind of side of hyperpop. And so I was really interested to delve into this artist. I think I'd heard a couple of their songs, and I kind of heard that this kind of sounded to me like the kind of purest hyperpop, as far as like that super like sort of lo-fi production, but that kind of like the pop sensibility, but like really, and the super auto-tuned vocal. That was definitely like a taste I hadn't acquired. It was kind of like a big like, ooh, well, but I respected like the kind of I felt like it was like kind of the newer kind of like that punk rock energy. So I heard a couple of their songs, but I hadn't really delved very deep into it. So this was first time really getting deeper into their catalog, and also after doing the sampling of songs that I created for this playlist, for this podcast, I delved deeper into their catalog to really get a sense of them. But anyway, first, I would love to hear your thoughts on this artist, on 100 Gecs. What did you think of
so I was not really aware before we started doing the Hyperpop Portal segments. I was not aware very much of hyperpop as a movement, as sort of like an emerging genre or subgenre. And I'd never heard of 100 Gecs before delving into this, or Sophie. I'd only really heard a little bit of Charlie XCX, but I've been curious because I've been very interested in what we've learned on the journey, because we had also covered some of the other like current pop artists in Pop Portal this past year, like Billie Eilish and Youngblood, that it's expanding my understanding of what pop is and can be right now. And that's been fun, which has opened me up to listening with more excitement and anticipation, rather than listening like critically, like I'm gonna hate this. So I'm finding these artists are turning me more on to future artists as I'm listening to them. So thanks to the ones we've already reviewed, because it is, I think, making me a little less grumpy about listening to pop music, because sometimes it can be like, oh, pop, because when you've been like goth, indie, electronic, underground, metal, just everything, punk, alternative, just then then you get kind of like, oh, pop, you know, and so there's like, no, I want like, you know, I need fine dining. I can't just have like, you know, cotton candy.
Right,
I can't just have like all this. It's just a hell of a boss pop
song,
reference. Their pop song is Cotton Candy, which is actually a really good song, and very catchy. And so listening to 100 Gecs, like there was a very cool backstory about the band that you found also on YouTube, like talking about the artists and basically like a biopic already existing about these two very young, very new artists. So the fandoms of all these things are kind of amazing. Like the amount of work that's going into, like, we can profile them and learn about Charlie XCX, and we can learn about Sophie, and we can learn about this duo as well. Is wow, it's a credit to how much appetite, how much interest there is for this kind of music. You know, my first listen, I was intrigued by the mashup of so many genres that they're drawing from, because sometimes you can hear, you know, more electric guitar, and sometimes it's just like really pounding ahead like a dance song, and there's elements where I can hear that they did like the Beastie Boys, and you know, and the little bit of a rappy thing, and then the like hyper auto-tune thing is all the way to the point where they're treating it as another instrument of what it can do, the voice, not the way auto-tune was like people can't really sing,
so
well,
we're gonna make it sound
using
like
it to fake as if they're good singers, which made everybody hate auto-tune and really resent it. But what's happening in hyperpop is just using it as another digitized asset that can create the soundscape and the effect of whatever they're doing. And then the fact that they're bringing in things that sound like video game noises, and that they got their early exposure through Minecraft like live Minecraft, you know, music festival. Again, it's so innovative that it's almost like all the things that I might have used to form an opinion about it, I'm not sure I should use them. You know, because I was thinking through some of the things that I would normally reflect upon in like trying to evaluate and talk on a podcast about something, and sound like you know anything about anything, like you have some criteria to think about or relate to it. And by the time I'd listened to all their music, I was like, I kind of don't want to. I don't even want to use the criteria that I've used to critique even like Charlie XCX or Billie Eilish, because I've critiqued them a lot because there's so much like fluff to the subject matter, and for me, the content of music is very important to me, and a lot of the music that I resonate with the most deeply has a message that's super important. And I feel like here there's like a lot of sort of social commentary and occasionally like self-revelation stuff that's coming up. Because, you know, Money is more critiquing the people with their big trucks, and I can relate to wanting to make a whole song about that, because I've lived in North Carolina and New Mexico and Virginia, and these are all places where people put a lot into their trucks and into their masculine pride about the size of their trucks. I can kind of sympathize with wanting to make a whole song that's kind of a critique of like people's weird attitude toward their trucks, and it's like so that, you know, some of the negativity that's in that, I guess, is just where we are. You know, like, so not critiquing them as people as being shallow or missing the point or something, that their songs are about what they're about. They seem like I know they're both creating a lot of work, and not all as 100 Gecs. So they're making a lot of songs about a lot of different phenomena, and it almost feels like, you know, the subject matter is only one other tiny instrument of what they're creating. That they're just coming up with sounds, they're coming up with vibes, and getting people moving, or creating an emotional response, and that the words, the lyrics, the message is not as big a factor. It's just one other thing, like a good drum track that lets you have a song. I don't know. You know,
I don't know.
Because I'm not taken by the messaging that they're doing. That I kind of have to put to the side. But the music I am intrigued by. And
I'm not sure about the I'm not sure about the messaging as far as like the lyric. Like, I have no idea. Like what I think, like, what mainly what I get is like is the overall vibe. Mainly for me, like when I was first listening to it again, the first songs, I'll give you guys the playlist like I did last time. So I'll pop it up here on the screen. The playlist we listened to, I'll also link it down in the description below, of the 5 or 6 tracks that I selected, and I selected them and I put them in the playlist in chronological order, so we kind of get a feel for the trajectory of where they've gone. So far, 100 Gecs, I think they only have 2 albums out now. It's only the 2. Their first album was 1,000 Gecs, and their second album was 10,000 Gecs. So you can kind of see where they're going with their trajectory. I can't wait for 10 billion Gecs.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Anyway, so, yeah, so basically all their tracks, I think, are from those 2 albums so far. Most of them, I think they released an EP or something like that before that. But anyway, so what I mainly got, the first couple tracks were actually those first 2 that I had heard before we delved into Pop Portal. So the sort of more the super kind of auto-tuney kind of vocal, but which was, again, a little bit hard to get my ears around first. But as the song's going, I'm like, I'm starting to acquire the taste. It's starting to not rub me and bother me as much. And then as the playlist was going, as we're starting to get deeper in their catalog, and I'm starting to hear how they're playing with genre and weaved in stuff like rock and, you know, a little bit of punk and a little bit of hip hop and stuff like that in there. I'm starting to really love the creativity and like really get down with some of these songs. I think my favorite one was Me, Me, Me. Like that chorus, like when that chorus kicks in, I'm like, oh, it's an earworm. Like, yeah. So like as I'm listening, as I'm getting into the catalog, like their newer stuff is my favorite stuff of theirs so far. It's like I'm getting down with their vibe. Like, again, I don't know the messaging of what they're talking about. If they're just talking about stuff that's relates to them. Like, I think like there's certain things of like maybe like the one song Dumbest Girl Alive, where she's kind of being like self-deprecating about herself and things like that. Like, I kind of get that, but it's mainly like I'm getting like the kind of like punk rock kind of mentality of this is what it's like to do in this world, and like this is what the, you know, our world is like. You know, there's another track they have called Doritos and Fritos, which is another one that's like kind of a banger, but it's like they're, you know, singing
again
about,
I feel like they're making a lot of work, and they're sort of like anything is subject matter, anything. What's on my desk? Doritos and Fritos. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, what's on my desk? Okay, I feel like a loser sometimes. But
it doesn't feel like it's like empty songwriting.
And then like the hand with the mallet is like a bad breakup song. You know?
Guess, yeah. It feels like there's there's
like you were in my mind and in my, you know, and
so like
and their videos are so like Dada-esque too.
Yeah,
like they're wearing these crazy costumes and they're just jumping around and doing weird things,
like crazy editing and camera shots and
very weird effects and stuff and surrealist. It's awesome, and so it makes me feel like the content, like the words, are just another surrealist element, so that there's not going to be a clear messaging. Like we have these things to say, and this is the group of songs in which we're going to say them, which is a little how we are about our music. And this is like, nope, this is a free-for-all. This is just like raw creativity. We just can't stop creating and producing, and we have all these genres. Like if we're them, like I have all these genres that are in the influences, and so I like that they don't really observe boundaries, you know. And you know, separately as artists, his name, I'm sorry,
Dylan Brady, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan, yeah.
And so, you know, he had moved to LA and started, but even on SoundCloud, had started producing a lot of other people, and has a producer sensibility, and has made tons of music and helped other people make tons of music. And so I think when they're just so prolific, they're just churning through all these different ideas. And he's producing people across genres too. He's producing people that are now very big in hip hop, and other people that are big in like hyperpop, and then making their own stuff. It's like the show, this effect, especially with the videos, like everything is just so sort of crazy, silly. I don't know. It's like the duo of them running around and being crazy and having all this imagery and all this stuff going on is almost like some new Thelma and Louise thing. Like, what the hell is happening for these two people? What are they doing? They're just running around, and like all their outfits and even like images of them on stage. They did get to like. First they were at the Minecraft version of Coachella, and then they got to play at the real Coachella, and I think they were wearing outfits from one of their videos when they performed live, and so it's they have avatars in Minecraft, and then they have this weird persona in the video, but then that's who they are live on stage. So I feel like everything is like a genre mashup. Like their words are genre mashup, and their costumes and their videos and their editings and their cuts in their music videos, and then like the amount of instruments that they're using and stuff, so that that's why I feel like this goes really well with Hell of a Boss, because it's like it's just so far beyond limits or the containers that kept things this and not that and stuff. And it makes me happy to see people being so like just vigorously, vibrantly, insanely creative.
Yeah.
They're just doing what the fuck.
Yeah, it very much feels like, to me, it feels like that's what it's mainly. Again, if you were to ask me what the lyrics or what a certain song was about, like I couldn't tell you. Like I hear the lyrics, but I'm like I can't. But it's the overall vibe of that the song and the creativity and the video gives you. It feels like a couple of my weirdo friends just getting the camera and making stuff,
and like, that's what's awesome. That about? And like we don't know. But going even like weirder with it, and even more off the edge, and like I kind of love it. Like for that, like it's like. Yeah, and also I just get this like vibe that they do not take themselves too seriously, like at all. They are just like they're just like making all kinds of crazy art.
You can love it, you can take it seriously,
like
you can laugh at it. It's up to you. It's like it's all fair game. Like, and I kind of love that.
Yeah.
I
think they are having a wild ride.
Yeah.
As creators, they are just like young and avant-garde and totally bizarre, and I love it. I love that they're able to do that and find an audience and get music out there and just open up so many more channels and possibilities for other people, because I think things do get too formulaic and they're just trying to repeat things that work, just like they did in animation. And we like Hell of a Boss because it throws all that out and just does what it's going to do. And musically, I feel like this is such a good parallel to that, because they're just going to throw all of the you can't do this if you do that, stay in your lane. They're just going to throw that out. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful, because hopefully it expands the space for what so many people are willing to listen to and enjoy as fans, and then as creators, what the kind of music you can create and the kind of like respect and listening that can happen, like connecting with people out there. They're opening it much broader from a pop perspective, because they're just very avant-garde.
Yeah.
But they're not like, we're avant-garde.
We're avant-garde. They don't come with any pretension.
1980s pretentious avant-garde art. These guys are just like weird.
Yeah.
They're just weirdos. Yeah. And they're just creating, and I think that's great.
Yeah, just weirdo art kids creating stuff, and and so I love to see that. And also, like, it goes to your point just now. It's like much like what I said when we reviewed Sophie. It's like this feels like the future of music that maybe people aren't quite ready for, but like this is what more artists are going to sound like in like a decade from now. Like everyone's going to sound like this, and like it's like exactly. So
it's just like, and with Sophie, because she died, we don't know what she would be.
What she would have done,
and I feel like she's brilliant, and what Sophie was doing was pointing towards this kind of rampant creativity as well, and so many different genres, so many different topics, so many different styles behind the songs, and working with so many different vocalists and stuff. Whereas these two are just working together. They're working with other vocalists in other projects, but on Unheard Gecs, it's just the two of them. Yeah. But I still think I can see a connection between like things Sophie was doing and what I imagine Sophie would continue to do as a creator if she was still here, which I still think is really sad, because she was awesome and really talented. Yeah. But I'm just glad that they're out there, and I love that they were able to kind of get their big start, because they got to like headline a Minecraft music festival for the
which I think happened during the pandemic, which is
then the second major Minecraft festival, they were even bigger by the time they got to play that one, and they could just like be playful. It's like, I gotta go get the pizza out of the oven. It's like how they into the set. It's like, okay, well, I'll send you the track later. Like they're still online collaborating from Chicago and LA, like sending tracks out of the just the normal way that they would be interacting. And they ended this big opportunity to play for I don't know, hundreds of thousands or millions of people or in Minecraft to listen to this concert. And I think that's awesome, because I'm they said Second Life is going to change the world, and then it didn't. but it's these like RPGs, and it's what's happening in the Minecraft universe, and music avatars, and being able to do like have a digital avatar presence different than in the world. Like now it's coming. They said it was going to happen like 15 years ago with Second Life, and it just did not. People did not get invested in creating avatars then, but now they are. And so it's interesting to see the musicians that are coming in and finding their way into kind of mass popularity or people knowing them. I mean, Unheard Gecs got so many acknowledgments for their first album, like the number of like top things that they got. It's mind-blowing because it was so unexpected and weird, and the auto-tuned, to the nth degree thing. It made me think of like I think that Money song would be QT's favorite song from Space Dandy.
Yeah, Money Machine.
Money Machine.
Yeah, it sounded like QT's voice. Yeah, totally. Yeah,
because it sounded like the only time I've heard the autocorrect used to such a far extent was in Space Dandy doing QT, which was the Japanese sensibility of like take it further. How far has it gone? Take it further. And so now we have creators that are growing up with all of that kind of media that they've consumed and so it's just like it's wide open. It's not just share do you believe in life after love with little tiny hints of like making the voice sound swoopy. This is a whole other thing. And it's not so I have no critiques of like autocorrect how it was being used by like so singers. At first when I was listening to them, like, can they sing? Like, are they rapping? Are they singing? What are they doing? Who are they? And I like that they both have like this shaggy blonde hair and then this crazy clothes, and I'm like, I cannot tell the gender of these people. At first I thought they were both maybe female, and then later I was like, maybe they're both male. And like, that's cool too, because the sort of queer open identity aspect is fun. And I like that they're not getting like pulled into a box that you have to have somebody who's going to show off her body, and it needs to be a her usually, and she's going to shake her ass, and she's going to writhe on the floor. And I feel like Charlie XCX got pushed into that, and I feel like her creativity has suffered because when I listened to her backstory as a kid growing up in London rave scene, I want to know what she sounded like when she was unhinged, when she was just London rave, like improving to people starting when she was like 14 years old or something, because it feels like she got funneled into, you need to be a starlet, you have to sell your body as a sex object in a very objectified, non-authentic kind of way. And now you're going to have to make a song about being a schoolgirl again, even though you're in 20s, you're going to have to pretend you're 15 so people can infantilize you and sexualize you. And I don't like it. I feel like it's really limited. Charlie XCX, that aspect of fame has prevented her from being the artist she's probably capable of being, but she's collaborated with them, so maybe she can get free of it. And I think it's a difference that we're seeing because Sophie was out of that box and not going to play those games either. And like we did as one of the perfect albums, like Rena Sawayama, and she's resisting that as a pop artist. Is it pop? I think it's pop. And just what pop is and what genre it is, it feels does it apply? I guess it applies if they choose that it applies to them, then that's cool. I really like the fact that in the genre they haven't been forced to behave like sex icons, and that they just show up being weirdos with like crazy suits and like their crazy blonde hair that sort of matches, so that you can't kind of tell them apart as they're running around sometimes. I really like that they're kind of like blurring and disappearing into the creativity together, even in their physical appearance, how they're showing up looking more and more like each other. It's confusing and it's awesome, and it's not gendered and it's not sexualized. It's just bizarre and artsy and weird. And I'm so excited about that because I think people should be able to be sexy, but I think the fact that that a lot of people weren't able to make it unless they fit a conventional stereotype and were agreeing to sexualize themselves, that was like a criteria for their musicianship is crap, and I disagree with it entirely. And so I'm glad they're just being true to themselves and doing whatever the hell they want.
100%. And I love the creativity. I love that the more I got into the catalog, the more I could see the kind of like punk rock, we don't give an F like mentality with them of we're making what we want to make. I love that I can see that in there. Like I love that, like, again, Me 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 is probably my favorite one of the playlist that we created. The other one, Hollywood Baby, almost sounded like a Youngblood song.
Yeah.
Oh, where they're in the house. And that video looked dangerous as hell in the film. They're like lighting off fireworks.
Well, there's one where it seems to shoot to her eye.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you okay?
Yeah, I was like, what? I was like, damn.
That looked candid.
Like
that looked like
ugh.
it. Yeah.
Proof that like a really cool concept for a video is kind of like is most of the battle as far as like music marketing and getting your stuff out there is like come up with a really cool concept. Don't just like dance in a colored room and think that that's all you need to do, which some artists do, and it's like ugh, especially in metal.
Their videos
like,
are all just as bizarre as and sometimes you're like, does this relate to the song? Like this video, what? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You know, so I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of their art feels very surrealist or Dadaist. That it's just all this stuff happening. It's just a mashup, like whatever. We put it all together. This is what we felt like. Here, did you like it? We did. Sort of.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and I love it. I love that it's.
I feel like the listenability is there.
It is there. It is.
More,
yeah.
Like repeated listens.
Sure.
It's like this is good.
Yeah.
Like, I like the groove. I like the vibe. Like I can just feel that these are people that like a lot of different music, and we like a lot of different music.
Yes,
so it feels kind of comfortable. Just kind of like, oh, and now there's some guitars in there. Like
and I love the direction where it's going. Like even when I listen to the older stuff, like the like I said, the auto tune is not bothering me as much as it used to. Like I could get used to it, and it's like boom thing. But I like to see that they're stretching the creative muscles as well, and there's some vocal interplay. Like there's some where like Dylan's leading, and some where Laura's leading, and they're like kind of like and so they're playing around with stuff like that, and it's really cool to see, and it's really inspiring as creators ourselves to see like this future direction where the future is going, and it makes me like think like we can incorporate some different influences and stretch creative muscles and not be worried to like stay in any sort of box whatsoever is
fun.
It's fun. It's it's
liberating.
Possibilities. Yes,
because they are just weirdos, and they're very talented weirdos and very bizarre. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's weird in their videos and in the and in the song content, and I think it's very exciting.
Yeah.
To just get to be that weird. Like, go them. Go you guys.
Go you guys, yes.
Yay.
100%. So
we like weirdos.
Yeah,
and weirdos as pop, like, yay.
Yes, I know.
The pop was going to get so weird again. Like, that's exciting.
It is, yeah.
You know, and that they have so many punk rock influences, because you get to so much of that. It's either this or it's counter, it's this glam or it's this punk. And actually the truth is so much more complicated and blurry and just layered than that, and now if we can just stop apologizing for the fact that we're all sort of multi-genre, and there's just there's going to be moments that are very listenable, and then moments that are musically, sonically, like much more challenging about things that we're coming up with, and it doesn't have to all fit and just check a box. That it can be all of these things is really interesting, and it's very compelling. Yeah. And if you haven't listened to these guys yet, like have an open mind and go listen to the 100 Gecs and enjoy it. Really enjoy it. And listen to it more than once, because I feel like the musicianship of it grew on me. Listening to it more than one time. Yeah. And I will definitely continue to listen to this and pay attention to what they're releasing, and want to put it on playlists with other things, like just listening to the different kinds of music that I listen to, because I'm always making a lot of different playlists to kind of keep all these different sounds happening in the world around me. And I will continue to want to listen to like what they're doing in the future.
Absolutely. Definitely highly recommend you guys check it out. I wait patiently for 100,000 Gecs and 1 million Gecs and 10 million Gecs and all the albums you guys will make over your career. And then when you wrap it all up in David Bowie style with 1 trillion Gecs.
No, Googleplex.
Googleplex Gecs.
Googleplex Gecs.
Googleplex Gecs. That's the one.
That's where you're going.
Googleplex Gecs.
Yeah.
Yep. It's got to be that. It's got to be that.
The Googleplex Gecs is going to be really funny. And on the like,
and you do a weird video where you'll be in walkers, but like, but yeah.
Yeah.
But you'll still be making
Really
weird
well.
avant-garde shit.
And they were like,
It'll
where
be
does
awesome.
Gecs come from? And then in one of the interviews, she's answering it, and she's like, well, he had a dream, and I had almost the same dream,
Yeah.
and they were about the number 23. And it's like, how does that relate to calling it the And that's
Just
the
messing
answer
with
was
interviewers?
They
Yeah,
both
that's
had the
awesome.
same,
Yeah.
but for her, I think it actually connected. That there was
Yeah.
something between they both dreamed about the number 23, but then in her dream there was street art, and she saw 100 Gecs written on the in graffiti and street art. So I think it was part of it came to, and then she wanted a gecko, and she tried to order one gecko, and somehow they sent her 100 Gecs. So
Yeah.
she got 100 geckos.
Yeah.
So I think there was this
Yeah.
synchronicity between like similarities between a dream they each had, and in her dream had 100 Gecs in it. So
Yeah.
it maybe it's also like bootstrap paradox,
Yeah.
like she was remembering the future. Like
Yeah.
they were already called this, and she had a dream recalling the future.
be,
Because
yeah.
I think precognitive dreams, maybe we can remember backwards. So if time is an illusion and it's all timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff,
Yeah.
then why do
Yeah.
we only remember in one direction, that we're here
Right.
and we can only
Yeah.
go back? Can we also get better at going forward?
Yeah.
So I think precognitive dreams that seem precognitive are maybe just we're able to visit like parallel dimensions where we exist in a different possible, fork in the road moment, or we're able
Yeah.
to remember forward.
Sure, yeah.
So I thought it was interesting when she was asked, where's this
Yeah.
weird kind of bizarre
Yeah, what
name
Juliet's
come from?
referring to is the
100
documentary I linked, the 100 Gecs, Gecumentary, I think is what it's called. It's in the playlist, in the link, in the
Yeah,
description
talking about
down
how
below
they
if you're
got
watching
this
this on
weird
YouTube.
band name.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so even that was sort of Dadaist, like what they're that it's different stories at different times.
Yeah.
I like that too. So yay them,
Awesome.
yay
Yeah.
weirdos.
Yes. Yay them, yay
I
weirdos.
really love weirdos,
Yeah.
and yay everybody that makes Hell of a Boss. All such weirdos.
Yeah,
Like
love it. Yeah.
yay, we're weirdos too. Let's all hang.
Yeah. This was a fun episode. Love this. That wraps up our hyperpop portal. We will delve into something else on the couple months time in our next pop portal. We're probably
Feel
going to go
feel
into
free
it.
to send us some recommendations.
Yes, that's right. If you
in
have
comments.
recommendations, if you have, yes, please let us know down in the comments who we need to be checking out here on Pop Portal. You can name a pop artist or something going on in hip hop or alternative pop or whatever is catching fire right now. Whatever is catching on with people, chances are we haven't heard it. So let us know. Send us some recommendations.
There's so much music, so it's fun to take a little bit of a deeper dive into some new artists and see what's happening, or more recent artists.
Absolutely.